Hello team, welcome to another ATPGEO politics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. This is a Ukraine war breaking news update for the 5th of May 2025. And I'm reporting on rumours of a breakthrough in Kursk again by the Ukrainians. My guess is this is not as big as some people might like to believe, but is probably a little bit of a statement given Victory Day is coming. And that parade in Moscow is going to be, I'm sure, referencing the pushing out of the Ukrainians from the Kursk Oblast in Russia. We can see on Andrew Perpetua's map here that there's possibly still some Ukrainian presence inside Kursk, particularly near the Golnau monastery over here. That the Russians appear to be in control of now, but there's activity all around there. Well, actually, we're going to go just a little bit further north here. And if you remember, when the Kursk invasion, incursion, whatever you want to call it, was at its height, the Ukrainians controlled all. You can just see the faint outline there as I move the cursor to the right. The faint area is where the Ukrainians got up to, essentially. And they tried to get into Kursk from over here to a place called Grushkovo. Now, you had through Koronovo, you've got this river just coming down behind Koronovo, the same river that cuts along, does a dog leg down here, cuts along, and you see where these three black icons are, black and white icons. Those are bridges that were destroyed. And indeed, there is talk that Zvanoia has been blown up again. So that says the 17th of August 2024, but there is a claim that it got hit yesterday. So this move towards Grushkovo, or certainly in this Grushkovo area, that's over here. But there's been a lot of activity in Tetkino, which is just across the border. When the river comes all the way down here, it comes very close to the border, but there's an area to the west of the river that, and that is sort of cushioned, sort of hemmed in here by the Russia-Ukrainian border. And the river that the Russians struggled to maintain control over, and that's understandable, so they pulled out of there, and that's why that's still in blue. Tetkino has been given a lot of attention by the Ukrainians, but there is claim that in this general area there is quite a bit of Ukrainian activity. Indeed, here is the bridge, the Zvanoia bridge here in the Kursk region. According to Russian Milbloggers, Ukraine has destroyed that bridge, which was previously destroyed. I presume it's been refixed or fixed, and then it has been destroyed again by all accounts. Okay, let's go back to let's go to the data as to what is happening potentially in this area. You can see from this screen grab on a Telegram channel that you've got the same river coming down here. That's that blue area I was just talking about here. That gives you an understanding of where we are. Looking at this map, you've got Grushkovo just coming, just existing below the river as the same river comes from east to west. And there is some activity, it appears. The indication there is it's just around here. But I don't know for sure exactly what's going on. No report states this was the initial claim. Grushkovo district, Kursk region. Russians report that Ukrainian forces shelled Tetkino and engaged in a firefight near the railway station. Up to 5 Ukrainian soldiers were reportedly spotted, and a bridge near Zvanoia was blown up. Okay, this was a Russian, I think, statement. The enemy is increasing, so the enemy being the Ukrainians, is increasing its attacks in the direction of Tetkino and the Kursk region. The activity of enemy drones has increased sharply. Interceptor drones are trying to clear the skies of our reconnaissance birds. The enemy is also working on crossings and logistics. On the border, the Ukrainians are making passages in their minefields, and the enemy has long been pulling reinforcements into the Sumy region, but it's not at all a fact that the main attack will be in the direction of Tetkino. His actions are too demonstrative and drawn out over time. There's confidence that the enemy will attack in the near future. Zelensky continues to fight for a strong negotiating position. The key to this, in my opinion, is Victory Day negotiations. They got pushed out of Kursk. They lost that negotiating token that I think was potentially going to be a strong exchange token for the Ukrainians. And that's why the Russians threw everything and the kitchen sink at the Ukrainians, including North Koreans, a load of equipment from North Korea, and maybe up to 70,000 troops to push the Ukrainians out. There's no wonder the Ukrainians were pushed out, but it could be that they want something back, even if it is relatively small. I don't think the Ukrainians are going to be able to mount any sizable sort of attack here, but some people may be led to believe that this could be some sort of major offensive. I think absolutely not. Nonetheless, what are the claims? Russian channels are reporting that Ukrainian forces have launched a new push in the Kursk region with a focus on Tetkino. According to them, after missile strikes hit over bridges overnight, armoured units moved in with mine-clearing vehicles, leading to intense fighting. Okay, so this is what the Russian Milbloggers have been claiming. You can see Tetkino down there. You can see that same river coming up here and then dogling around, and you've got Zvanoia and Grushkovo and so on and so forth. And that's where we're talking about there on that particular map. Okay, then we hear from the Euromaidan press that Ukrainian forces allegedly launched a fresh offensive. Depends whether offensive is the right word, whether attack is just slightly more accurate, given I don't think it will be anything more than a limited incursion attempt. In Russia's Kursk Oblast on May the 4th evening, Russian news telegram channels reported Russian sources claim around 250 troops. So 250 troops is not going to get you much. And over 15 units of heavy equipment, that's not going to get you much. Attempted to break through near Tetkino village there. So anyway, there is activity here. Apparently, we see Ukrainian equipment breaking through the Dragon's Teeth near Novi Put in the Kursk region. Just to get a sense of where that is, let's have a little look. Yeah, so Novi Put is along the border. So you've got Tetkino here. We come along the border and we come to Novi Put over there. So there could be a little bit of attack, and that could be why they're talking about Grushkovo up here. This is an area that they tried to attack previously, and it ended up being a little bit disastrous for the Ukrainians. They sort of got to Zvanoia, had control of this general area, but couldn't make it up to the river. What they really wanted was control of all of the territory up to the river and along over to sort of Koronova. If they'd had this area under their control, they could have joined it. As you can see, there's that dark patch there. They couldn't join the forces of the Ukrainians over here with the forces that came up towards Grushkovo. And that would have been super useful because the river would have acted as a really good defensive feature that would have protected their western flank here in Snagost. And it was this kind of Snagost area that the Ukrainians lost first when the Russians were able to push back south of Koronova here. But they really would have liked to have had this whole area. I don't know that I'm sure they won't have delusions of grandeur and think they can take all of this. In order to take all of this, having failed to do so once before, they would need significant troops. The Russians would be somewhat more guarded and prepared, I would assume, than they were during the initial incursion into Kursk. But anyway, that's just a little bit of news of what's going on. I don't know that it amounts to anything. I don't want to big these things up unnecessarily just through hopium and whatnot, but there certainly is activity taking place into Kursk, and I personally think this will just be a little statement concerning Victory Day, where they're going to be talking about how wonderfully they've done in pushing the Ukrainians out of Kursk. And if the Ukrainians can then push back into Kursk just like a couple of days before Victory Day, then that's a real kick in the balls for for Putin. And personally, I think that's what's going on. They're playing a bit of Psyops with the Victory Day parade in terms of striking that with drones. I don't think they're going to be able to do that, or will even indeed really want to do that. But they've put the really put the shysters up, Russia's, to the point where they have moved an awful lot of air defences into Moscow, which is exactly what I was saying they would do. And that's playing into the hands of the Ukrainians there. And so the Ukrainians could then strike where the Russians might now be weaker, given that the air defences would have been pulled from somewhere. Anyway, that's enough from me. I'll get on with my hits and losses video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Speak soon.